Hey everybody, True Deal Tom here. Over the last few years, we have seen the emergence of a new form of beta male, one that isn't only unmanly or unmasculine, but makes a great effort to redefine manhood itself, to deconstruct it and thus pull the rug out from underneath the alpha chads that have made their lives hell for all of human history. And of course, alongside with them are the social justice warriors and the feminists that represent the most current manifestation of cultural Marxism in popular culture. They aren't just beta males, but they are almost always white males that have an explicit and articulated white guilt also. While additionally, they can almost always be spotted with a beard, glasses, and are prematurely balding. The beard obviously to cover that weak chin, as being a beta male almost inevitably means having low testosterone, of which one of the consequences is weak facial features, flabby cheeks and pink soft skin, and most importantly a weak chin to grow a beard over. But if you don't remember, as Daily Wire wrote when reporting on a story in which the guys at BuzzFeed decided to get their testosterone checked, quote, the normal T-score for an adult male ranges from 270 to 1070 nanograms per deciliter, with men aged from 25 to 34 averaging out at 617 nanograms per deciliter. Not one BuzzFeed beta male met the 617 nanogram per deciliter average, rather all the men testing below the level of a typical 85-year-old male, which is 376 nanograms per deciliter. Moreover, 3 of the 4 men tested below the average range, and the male with the highest testosterone level, Eugene, still had a relatively low T-score with 363 nanograms per deciliter, end quote. But anyway, this could potentially explain the high amounts of male pattern baldness amongst new males, and surely explains the narrow shoulders, low muscle tone, and high titty fat distribution that is seen in new males all around the globe, all at the same time challenging the age-old conception that beards were a strong and masculine feature. But in addition, the allegiance of new males with the left is of course predictable. New males are unattractive and thus are more likely to be progressive, as the data has shown us. As was famously reported by the Washington Post, conservatives really are better looking, research says it, and this makes sense. It's conservatives that are concerned with defending norms and the existing structure of society, and gender norms are no exception. Hence, if you fail at fulfilling gender norms, i.e. you are a man with low testosterone, then it makes sense that in terms of reproductive strategy, you would seek to revolt against those gender norms as opposed to attempting to climb a dominance hierarchy where others have a natural advantage over you. Instead, you have better chances throwing your lot in with women or potential mates that revolt against masculinity, as those that are masculine are your competitors in a game you simply can't win. This is similarly provable through Jonathan Haidt's work. Liberals are statistically far more agreeable. In fact, agreeableness is the biggest predictor of political liberalism, and of course, agreeableness is an innate feminine quality, seeing that women consistently score higher than men on agreeableness and related measures such as tender-mindedness, as is concluded in the study Gender Differences in Personality across the 10 aspects of the Big Five, which, like everything else referenced, will be linked in the description. However, recently a new phenomena amongst new males has risen, or at least has been discovered by the greater internet, or more specifically Paul, and that is cuckface. We've all heard of duckface, the trend amongst basic bitch college girls that occurred 10 years ago. Well, this is cuckface, also known as the new male smile or the Soylent Grin. Now, it seems that this was first brought to light in October 2017 when a 4chan user made a thread on Poll entitled "The New Male Open Mouth." It reads, quote, "Does anyone have a theory on this? Premature balding, strange skin tone, and dead eyes are all strange enough phenomenon, but the open mouth photos these guys take is perplexing me the most. I've never seen new males ever talk about opening their mouths in photos. It just seems to be something they all unconsciously agree on and know to do. I really can't wrap my head around it." So it seems this is the face of the self-hating white beta male we've all spent the last 5 years on YouTube becoming so fond of. But is there any explanation for this? Well, some people's first assumption would be that it's a sexual advance that's efforts are focused on being non-threatening to women. As we know, the modern left is obsessed with nurturing others. If you are white, having to constantly lower yourself and demote yourself, something that comes with acknowledging that you have a position of privilege in the current political system. They have absolutely no idea about the world around them and think virtue is synonymous with demoting yourself. They think self-hatred is humility. The doctrine of not being racist dictates everything, and there is no analysis beyond this, and thus A part of me hopes man could find himself in an apocalyptic crisis so these types could just be culled immediately. But nonetheless, these men maybe think that in order to please women, they need to replicate female behavior, an assumption that comes with the destruction of sex realism and gender roles. And thus they make this large, agreeable and feminine smile. They think that they need to lower themselves to pet status for a woman as opposed to being a man that will assert himself and lead her and so on. Well, again, in later December poll, another user made a post that gives us insight into why there is an unspoken hive mind agreement to make this face amongst new males. It reads, quote, "Research has shown that in apes, I'm guessing men, who open their mouth excessively tend to be more submissive and lower in the social ladder. I thought showing teeth was a sign of aggressiveness, and that's why chimps always fuck up zookeepers. OP, beat the fuck out. They are passive aggressive just like women. Are new males zookeepers? It's called cuckface, like duckface but for cucks." So, could this be a submissive expression? An expression of one's own awareness that they are low in the dominance hierarchy? This could also be why it's such an enraging face, because what is more disgusting to us who strive to climb the dominance hierarchy than a man who has rejected his male role and has thus chosen to move nowhere and slouch downwards towards a feminine existence? In other words, a man that has desexed and has accepted his failure as a man to compete with others for mates. But to explore this potential explanation, let's read an article from Scientific American entitled, "How Did the Smile Become a Friendly Gesture in Humans?" So the article starts with, quote, Anthony Stocks, chairman and professor of anthropology at Idaho State University, responds, "The evolution of smiles is opaque and, as with many evolutionary accounts of social behavior, fraught with just-soism. Among human babies, however, the tooth-bearing smile is associated less with friendship than with fright, which one might argue is related to the tooth-bearing threats of baboons. On the other hand, a non-toothy, not-so-broad but open-lipped smile is associated with pleasure in human infants. Somehow, we seem to have taken the fright-threat sort of smile and extended it to strangers as a presumably friendly smile. Maybe it is not as innocent as it seems," end quote. And the article then continues further down. Frank McAndrew, professor of psychology at Knox College in Galesburg, has done extensive research on facial expression. He answers as follows: "Baring one's teeth is not always a threat. In primates, showing the teeth, especially teeth held together, is almost always a sign of submission. The human smile probably has evolved from that," end quote. So, in other words, could it be that the new male smile, or cuckface, is a human version of the fear grimace? Is it a means of expressing one's own awareness of their low position in the dominance hierarchy? Because we know men have an innate tendency towards status maximization. Historically, in order to reproduce, we want to climb the dominance hierarchy because we intuitively know that women only mate with those at the top. And obviously, the new male is attempting to open a niche to cater towards their low behavior and to sort of collectively bargain against the hierarchy that they are so disadvantaged at. Similarly, as low testosterone men cannot compete not only in the dating pool but in markets, in war, or anything that requires the manly traits of conscientiousness and low agreeableness, the two biggest predictors of success in those things and two traits that are much higher in males, it makes sense that it would be in their interests to conform to the leftist model of man, the man that is non-impositional and treats women as equals. He is the enemy of traditional society because he knows that in traditional society there is no reward for this, there is no gain from desexing yourself and revolting against gender roles. But alas, here in the modern world, we are left with a route for subpar males to achieve their own status separate from that which is masculine, and that is in the world of left-wing politics. But anyway, guys, that's going to have to do it for this one. Remember to hit up all my social media links, such as my Instagram, my Twitter, and etc. I'm usually very active there, and there is some exclusive content which I don't talk about on my YouTube channel. If you really like my content, it would mean the world to me if you would go to my Patreon page or buy some merch and help out. It really goes a long way. Links are in the description, and if you have any video suggestions, leave them in the comments. I'm sorry if you thought this was a bit of a shitpost of a video, but I just thought this was fascinating. But anyway, guys, I'll see you later.
Anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away, anytime